Hey, welcome back. This is Clay Nelson, Life Balance Hour, and we're talking about what it's like to be complete. And what I'm talking about is, to complete a way of being, to complete an argument, to complete a marriage, to complete where you're living, to complete the job you're doing, to complete the radio show you do, to complete the exercise program that you've been doing, all right? So it's all about, or complete going to, one of the grocery stores you go to all the time, or complete with the workout coach you have, or whatever it is, all the things that go on in life. You have to, when it's time to move on or to change, you have to complete with what you've been doing so that you don't drag along a whole bunch of incompletions over the years where you've got this big giant pile of stuff that needs to be completed. It takes up space in your life. So you have to get complete and you have to move on. The one thing you can't do is you cannot sit around and be in your head. Your head will give you the past. Your mind is designed to keep you in the past. It's the only safe place it can keep you. And it's the only safe place you can go. But it's, it's like the future is all about stuff you haven't done yet. And if you stay in your head, you're going to stay in the past. So it's all about getting complete and staying in action, moving forward. So I said, being complete, is represented by not having any regrets, saying what you need to say, apologizing when you need to, saying thank you and showing appreciation when it's time and you need to. But last and most importantly is to make sure your integrity is in place. Do what you say you're going to do. And if you don't, clean it up and go do it, or clean it up and change it, okay? So a good being complete example is more often than not, companies now conduct exit interviews when someone leaves their jobs. Why? Because they want to find out what you need to say before you leave. They also want to find out how they can make their business better or their relationships better with their staff. All right, the person leaving gets to say what they need to say, the employer gets to say what they need to say, and the employer also gets to find out what they may not have known otherwise, leaving no room or an excuse for an unanswered question. So it's all about straight talk. It's all about being real. It's all about being complete. No regrets, okay? No regrets, all right? So how do we make sure we ourselves remain whole and complete, and and that we leave others the same way? There's one thing to be complete yourself, but how do you make sure that your mate that you're leaving is complete? All right, I mean, it's like it's a little different than having to walk away from a pet or an animal that you've had for years. I can't even imagine having to do that, but I think getting a divorce is easier than that. But it's all about getting really straight with, you got to be responsible for where you leave people. And if you set people up either over a short period of time or a long period of time, that life is going to be a certain way, and then you make them believe that you agree with that, and then you change, well, you spin out the whole world. So you have to understand that you got to be responsible for that. So it's responsible for what you're doing and responsible for where you're leaving people. So here we go. Here's some good tools to use for being responsible for where you leave people. Number one is full and complete communication everywhere all the time. Don't allow things to go unsaid. Now, that's a big one. You got to say what you need to say, no matter who you got to say it to, or no matter what the topic is. You set it just like the last caller. You have to set up the conversation, ask permission to shoot straight, and agree that neither of you are going to walk away until the communication is complete, and then go forward and say what you need to say. That, and that goes for the good, the bad, and the ugly. All done, of course, in an acceptable way. No screaming, no yelling, no nothing. All right? You got to have your integrity in place. You have to express your appreciation of those who made a difference for you. All right? So, like, if you're in a meeting sometimes, all right? Or, or you're just with a group of people where you've had a good time. You've gone bowling or something. You've gone to a roller skating rink or whatever. You want to, when everybody's getting ready to leave, you want to say, hey, that was really cool. Let's do it again. Let people know the difference they've made for you by telling them. Communicate fully. That's what's going on here. Now, the next one is when you have an upset with someone, clean it up. Ask permission to speak straight and respectfully say whatever needs to be communicated in order for you to be complete and for them to be complete. You don't want to leave anything undone. You don't want to pack your suitcase with a bunch of stuff that's old. So, I mean, when you're dancing in today's world, with technology being what it is, you get enough trouble just breathing on the planet. I mean, if you're outside in the planet, doing the grocery shopping, driving downtown, taking care of your kids, going to work, coming home, doing all the stuff that you do, stuff happens. So you got to make sure that when you go to bed at night, you're as complete as humanly possible. all right? You got to give others, it's a big one now, you got to give others the room to communicate fully and completely too. You have to do this. You need to accept acknowledgments gracefully. You have to give others the room to speak what they need to speak, or, or make sure that they are not left incomplete in the communications, all right? We need to be forgiving. We need to, shall we say, have our forgiveness serve us powerfully. In other words, you have to be able to forgive on your feet sometimes when you really don't wanna. You know what I mean? I got some of those going right now. When you're being acknowledged for your contribution at work, at home, or in your school, or in the grocery store, simply graciously, accept the acknowledgement. Don't say it was nothing or it was my job. Just say, thank you. Gee, that was cool. Okay, so number one is full and complete communications, all right? That's one of the ways that you get complete. Don't leave anything undone. Don't leave people wondering what you meant, all right? Number two, give up the assumptions. God, I get in so much trouble assuming things, okay? So you got to give up assumptions. We all make assumptions, but when we get trapped in those false assumptions, we create all sorts of room and upsets for misunderstanding. So don't assume anyone or anything, all right? Don't assume it, all right? One of the biggest problems I've had in my personal life is assuming that the people in my life, that we were doing what they wanted to do. And I assumed it because nobody stood up and said, I don't want to do that. And it's a big mistake. Don't do that. Remember, you cannot read anybody's mind, and they can't read yours. So here's the problem. Now, here's something you need to think about. When's the last time where you asked, what do you want? And you said, I don't know. And what happened with the person that asked the question? They have two choices. They do nothing, or they go forward with what they think is best for you. And if that's the case, and you still don't say anything, either over a short period of time or a long period of time, you can't complain about what you get. So when someone asks you, what do you want? Or how about this? Do you like this or don't you? You have to say, I do like it or I don't like it. Or you have to say, I don't know. Give me some time to think about it. And then you have to go think about it and actually come back with an answer. You can't just walk away and hopefully the question disappears. You have to be responsible for where the mass is going, where the family is going, where the marriage is going, where the communication is going. You have to absolutely participate in it. If you don't participate, you can't complain about what you get. So giving up assumptions is a big one, okay? You have to be present to where you leave others. Remember, this is all about completion. You have to be present to where you leave others. If you leave someone in a place where they don't have your answer, and they've asked every way they know how, and they give up, what are you doing? You're creating confusion. You're making them make decisions, and they're hoping that it's going to be in your best interest, but they don't know, but the decision has to be made because the motion has to go forward. So when you catch yourself, shall we say, completing an incompletion or causing an incompletion by saying, I don't know, I can't figure it out, I don't want to do this now, you have to get to a place where you do want to do it. You do have to get to a place where you do answer it. And you do have to get to a place where you're willing to say, I either do want to do it or I don't want to do it. All right? Or I only want to do this part of it. Or I only want to do it for this long. And then we have to figure out something else. So that's the game here. All right? So being complete in your communications, both with your partners and in your life and in your business, on the telephone, in the grocery store, at a traffic signal with the person in your car, just in the radio station, being complete in your communications is really what life is all about. You don't want to make a job doing one. The same thing goes for when you're left in a bad place. You have to let those know that when you're left in a bad place, that you're left in a bad place. Sorry, I don't like what you said. What you said offended me. What you said made me afraid to say anything. How you're being doesn't work for me. So you have to really get it, that you got to be careful how you use your power. Now, I've got to go on another break in a very powerful way, of course. So this is Clay Nelson on Clay Nelson Life Balance Hour on KZSB AM 1290. Come on back.